Yo guys, what is going on? It is Invin here, and today what I'm bringing to you guys is a video on New World Fresh Start servers and why these are going to be coming to the game, what we can expect to see involved within them, and also when we can expect to see some news on it. So we're going to start off, obviously, first things first with the news on this. We did see a lot of information about it in yesterday's dev update video, which did detail some specific things which I want to run through with you guys, mainly about how they're revamping the start and why Fresh Start servers, in my opinion, I think are actually going to be pretty fun. Even if you are someone like myself who's got nearly 3,000 hours in the game, these are actually still going to be a little bit different, which is nice. Now, first things first with these servers, we are going to be getting some official news on this soon. It is likely to be before the end of October because in the dev update video, Scott Lane, who is the game director, says beyond that when referencing the next dev update videos, and when he is referencing the October dev update video when we're going to be getting the roadmap, he says we're going to talk about Fresh Start servers and we've got some news on that soon, and beyond that we've got the dev update video. So in other words, we're expecting to see some news on the Fresh Start servers probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Now, obviously, we don't have an official date on that or anything because we're not entirely sure when the next dev update is going to be. But given that this one was the end of September, we can probably expect it to be the end of October. So that gives us, roughly about 2 or 3 weeks' time. And hopefully within that time period, we should have heard something official. Of course, I will keep you guys updated here on the channel, so make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with all of the latest and greatest from New World. But what can we actually expect to see from these Fresh Start servers? Well, as well as kind of giving us that little bit of teaser info in the dev update video, they did also kind of go over stuff they've redone, whether that is, obviously the redo of the leveling and starting experiences. So this is tons of things. Obviously, as you will know if you've played the PTR, the levels 1 through 25 have been completely revamped. You've got more story context, you've got more context to why the factions are there, and lots of stuff, really cool aspects of storytelling with Isabella's voice speaking to you and cutscenes which we haven't actually seen yet. And all that kind of stuff ties in, but they've also done things like they've put a new laser area similar to what you will experience in Starstone Barrows, but this is in the early leveling process, so you can kind of get used to this as you are going through the game, which I think is really cool because it's kind of a little bit of foreshadowing for the expedition if you choose to do it, of course, with there being solo options for these quests now. But it is also one of those things where it feeds into the game nicely, feeds into the lore, and actually gets you into the environment, as well as, of course, giving a bit more of variety to those quests, which is really cool, and I think is really important when players first pick up the game or come back to the game and start again to have something brand new to experience. Now, there's also some glyphs in the areas similar to what you will see in Brimstone Sands, or things like if you're going into Lazarus Instrumentality, the glyphs that you do above the doors, little puzzles involving glyphs there, again, in the main story quest and side quests around the main story, which is fantastic, and generally just a ton more variety of quests other than just go and kill something or go and retrieve something. There is a lot more stuff in there. There's things like when you go to the docks, a lot of you might have seen this, when you go to the docks now, a ship will come in and you've got to defend the docks with any other players that are in that area versus this mobs, and then you'll get given some rewards, and it's actually really cool. It makes the world feel much more alive. A lot more random encounters have been added over the previous few months, which also come into play with these brand new additions, and overall make this experience a lot different and a lot more exciting as you are starting to level or beginning to level or coming back to the game, whatever it is, which is really good. Now, like I've said there at the beginning, we have only got levels 1 to 25 revamped right now, but we do know that they are starting to work on the 25 to 60 levels because obviously the reception they've had from the 1 to 25 is, yeah, this is sick, please do more of it, it's really cool. Keep it going, basically. So they said in the dev update video, of course, they're going to start to work on that, get more involved with it, which I think is a really good move, and I think will bring a lot of players back to the game if they can get to level 60 with some really cool questing, and it will also mean any new players really get a chance to experience the game on a more complete level, and then they get to endgame and they've got all the endgame stuff too, which they are also kind of expanding on, adding additional content to, etc. But I'm not going to touch on that in today's video. But yeah, really exciting stuff. Now, On top of this, with regards to why Fresh Start servers would be good specifically, is they've added a lot of brand new POIs. Now, obviously, we know that they've kind of redone the settlements and stuff, which I'll touch on in a moment's time, but they have also redone a lot of the beginner leveling areas, or places you would go lower level in the game, so things like the Varagian Knights, and they've also kind of upgraded some of the places that were like little tents. They've upgraded those to big like camps, or big, there's one particular area where it was just like a little bit of water, and that was a swamp. They've now got like big trees and buildings in there, and it looks really, really cool, and that as a leveling experience, just in terms of aesthetic, but also in terms of the vibe and the feel of the game, is really, really awesome. And I think, again, with a Fresh Start server coming our way hopefully soon, or at least news on when this might be, players experiencing that for the first time, even those at a level 60 and have been since pretty much the launch like myself, that will be a brand new experience for most players, and that is really, really exciting, and again, I think is something that a lot of players would really enjoy experiencing as a new Fresh Start server. Now, like I mentioned, obviously we've got Monarch's Bluff, we've got Everfall, all of those places that have kind of been revamped and given their own unique aesthetic. Particularly, we're looking at Monarch's Bluff. Now, this has kind of got a castle type feel to it, and this actually fits with the story. If you go kind of read around the story as you're going through it, you will understand now that Monarch's Bluff is kind of set on this Arthurian ideology and this kind of concept of the Knights of the Round Table, Camelot, that sort of stuff, and you've got that kind of feeling going throughout it, which is why it's got this medieval castle vibe. And then you go over to Everfall, and that one is like almost a Victorian style buildings with industrial walls, bricks, and then kind of a copper and glass roof. Very, very cool, very, very different, and actually it makes sense with the game. It looks amazing, and yeah, again, this will be a completely different experience. Although players would experience that on the live servers when this update goes live, going from level 1 and working your way up and coming through into those towns through the story is going to be amazing, and I think that will be something, again, even a lot of long-time players like myself, and I know a lot of you guys are as well, will really, really enjoy. Now, the other thing is that quests are now actually giving us good XP, which I know for a lot of you guys that played right at the start sounds kind of crazy, because we were used to spamming the town board to just get levels up in between what we needed to do. But now, at least from the levels 1 to 25 that they've revamped, you actually get quest XP that levels you up to the necessary level to get to the next part of the story, so you don't have to do additional grinding, additional town boards and stuff like that. Like, you can if you want to progress a little bit faster, but it isn't necessary, and town boards is nowhere near as good as what the quests are going to be and that sort of thing, which is really good in my opinion. I like that, and the developers in yesterday's update video talked specifically a lot about handpicking and tailoring each reward so that it kind of gives you a nice power boost and basically makes you a little bit powerful for the level. Not unbalanced, but you do feel like you're doing a lot of damage, you know, that kind of thing. You're tanking a lot, and it makes the story more enjoyable to play through, because it's still a challenge and you still need to pay attention to some of the mechanics, but you are able to go through it at a reasonable pace without having to go off and do, you know, mob grinding, town board quests, etc. You can just play through the quests, you'll be at the right level at the right time to continue doing that. And again, the ethos that they were talking about is continuing that from 25 to 60 to make it like one whole complete journey, which I think would be absolutely fantastic. So super excited to see more news on that. On top of this, you actually get a little bit more depth, like I said, in terms of the factions. So you see that the Soul Wardens come to Eternum. Now, a lot of players, even long-term players, might not know that the Soul Wardens are the group that came to Eternum first, and those Soul Wardens then split into the 3 factions, so the Syndicate, the Marauders, and the Covenant, and that is because they had different ideals in the world of Eternum, and that is actually where these factions come from. Now, it kind of explains that in the first bit of the story, which I think is really, really nice, and it gives a little bit of purpose to why you would actually be asked to pick one of these said factions. And on top of that now as well, there is a bit more backstory to each of the factions and their ideology, and, you know, if you want to go into the lore of it, you can, or you can still just pick whichever colour or whichever outfit you prefer. But they also have things like the faction enclaves now, so you can actually go ahead and go to the faction headquarters, as it were, take a look around and have a bit more involvement with that faction specifically, which again I think is really, really important for kind of immersivity into the game and kind of getting your head around how Eternum works, what you're going to be experiencing. And then again, this will lead on to the end game, particularly, you know, territory wars and holding territory and choosing a company in a particular faction to play with. That all links in a lot more smoothly now and actually makes a lot more sense, which I think is a massive, massive bonus for any new players and for any old players coming back if they start Fresh Start servers to kind of get involved with that, because that is really exciting and I think will add a whole new level of oomph to the game, which I really, really like. Now, like I mentioned briefly as well, there is also solo options for players for the main story quest instead of having to play through things like the, obviously, Amarin Temple early doors and then the depths and things like that. There is solo alternative quests, so that if you are a player that likes playing solo, or you're a player that's ahead of your friends and you want to wait for them for the dungeons or expeditions, you can just soar through that, get the quests done, get leveled up, and then you can go back and help your friends if you're ahead of them, etc. Or, like I said, if you just prefer playing solo, you don't have to do that expedition all the way up until the Tempest Heart, which is where the main story quest ends, until we get Brimstone. But I'm assuming by the time we get fresh start servers, we will probably have Brimstone released, so then obviously you'll have to go from the Tempest Heart then into Brimstone and play through that as well if you want to complete the whole thing, which is super, super cool. So overall then, we've got quite a lot of new stuff and a lot of really, really cool things kind of teased at us and told to us there in yesterday's dev update video. I think a lot of the things that I've mentioned in this video, all of them have been covered officially by the devs, so it's not speculation, it's stuff we actually know is coming. And that is really, really exciting because there's a lot of cool things there, a lot of really exciting content, and I think overall fresh start servers, like I said, we should hear about in the next 2 to 3 weeks, whether that is when we're going to be getting them, if they're officially definitely going to be coming to the game soon, or just a little bit more of an update about when we can expect them, if we can expect them, and what that will entail, which is great. But this gives us a nice little guide to things that they've been working on, that if we did get those fresh start servers, this is going to be really cool, and I think a lot of players will enjoy it. So do let me know your thoughts and feelings on that down below in the comments, and other than that, that's going to be it for today's video. So I hope you've enjoyed. If you have, please do leave me a like and a subscribe, and I'll catch you guys again very, very shortly on a brand new upload. So take care and peace.